This is a video about spiral dynamics and the color blue. Hello, this is Wake Up with a video about spiral dynamics and the color blue. This is part of a series of spiral dynamics videos from beige all the way to teal. The only two colors missing now are blue and orange. In many other books and videos you have probably heard that beige, purple and red are not so relevant for us anymore nowadays, which I totally disagree with. That's why I already made videos on beige, purple and red, and also if you have a closer look at spiral dynamics you see that you never leave colors. It's always about integrating, adding more colors onto the previous colors. You never go beyond any color, you just add more colors. The color of beige was about survival, which of course is still relevant today. You want to survive. Then purple is the first color with a sense of community. You form a family or clan or tribe in any kind of setting, be it modern or historic or prehistoric. Although prehistoric is a stupid term, there is no prehistory. It's either history or it's not history. If it's prehistory, it's ancient history, but not prehistory. History doesn't start with people building cities and starting with large-scale agriculture. But red history, red and blue history starts with building cities and large-scale agriculture. And because red and blue are very relevant colors still today, they look down upon beige and purple and ridicule them, saying, wow, we are so advanced nowadays. We can build cities where all kinds of diseases and desperation and poverty and slavery thrives. Because that's what happens. That's what happens in a red society. Every red society results in slavery. And there will be many more slaves than slave owners. And even nowadays, if you have a look around, there's so many poor people, really destitute, worrying about what to eat tomorrow, and working for $1 a day, for 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, 30 days a month, no holiday, no health benefits, total exploitation. Today we call it exploitation, in the old days we called it slavery. In spiral dynamics we call it red. And at some point people are pissed off and there's a revolution. And the point of this revolution is to limit the power of red slave owners. Who couldn't give less if other people die, as long as they self-thrive? And when this revolution happens and laws are made, laws that are binding for everyone, including rich and powerful and noble people, that is when blue starts. Yeah? There used to be a king or an emperor who got too powerful, and then first the nobles came and said, okay, we want power as well. You can't decide everything by yourself. And then later other classes will do the same to the nobles. For example, merchants. They will say to the nobles, okay, it's not you who can decide everything. We also want to say something. And there's a right to vote and be voted. And then all kinds of minorities come in. And if you look at history, women kind of come in last. The right for women to vote has developed only in the 20th century. And there were even some first world countries who introduced the right for women to vote and be voted only the beginning of the 21st century. Or the right for women to own their own enterprise, to own their own company, to own anything really. That's quite new. The whole thing of having a judicative and an executive that is independent from either religion or an emperor or king with his nobles. All these rights that we take for granted today and that not all countries all over the world even have yet, have been fought for through bloody and by bloody revolutions like the French Revolution, or the American independence, or the Indian independence, and so on. So there has been a movement from red to blue, which is still going on. It is easy to say we're all in orange now, and thank God we left our purple, beige, red, and blue beginnings behind us. But as we have seen recently, that is not true. Blue is mainstream. Everything that's mainstream is basically blue. Everyone who follows laws or follows a religion without thinking, without reflecting, just believing something is right and correct and proper because it is a law, because it's written, is centered in blue. And look around you right now during the current crisis. This is the majority of people. There is no orange logic. It's just if there's a law, no matter if it makes sense or it doesn't, most people follow it. And even get angry if someone else doesn't follow it. If there would be a law now that you're only allowed to leave your flat or your house wearing a hat or green gloves or yellow boots or whatever, most of the people would do it. They would think the government wouldn't order these measures if they wouldn't be necessary. Blue people follow orders. They love orders, they love laws, they love restrictions because they feel safe that way. Safety is the value number one. And even if the measures are totally overdone, it doesn't matter because the last thing we would put at jeopardy is safety. And anyone who does not follow the rules is not only stupid, he's a traitor. Persons who don't follow the rules put everyone at risk. For example, there's a traffic light, you're a pedestrian, it's red, there's no one coming, no bicyclists, no cars left and right. A blue person waits at the red light until it becomes green. Anyone else will probably just cross the street. A blue person will follow all rules and all orders and all laws without considering the circumstances. This has advantages, of course. For example, there's no bribery. If you offer a blue person a bribe, he will feel very insulted, and you'll be in deep trouble. On the other hand, that blue person, a civil servant for example, any kind of clerk, when you miss the deadline by 1 day, he will not make any exceptions. You missed it by 1 day, that's it. I can't do anything for you. Blue persons love routine. And again, routine has advantages and disadvantages. Routine gives you a lot of time to do other things because you don't have to rethink everything all the time. On the other hand, sometimes it would be good to question some things now and then and start thinking for yourself. Question authority, but that's the last thing a blue person will do. Question authority. There must be authorities, there must be a hierarchy. And if someone has been voted into a job, we'll follow him no matter what, until his legislative period is over. Many religions are also blue, because there's a written word, there's a book in which the absolute truth is printed, maybe even written by gods or by the god, him, her, or itself. Why would you not want to follow that? If it's written by God, you have to follow it. It has to be followed. There's no discussion. If you don't follow it, you're a dangerous heretic. You deserve to be burned at the stake. Yeah, Inquisition is a very blue thing with red influences, because there's always a transition from red into blue and later from blue into orange. But orange is a little bit more creative. It allows mavericks to exist. Well, blue wants everyone to be uniform, everyone the same, which has always advantages and disadvantages. I'm not saying blue is bad. No color is bad. Every color has its advantages and disadvantages, and no color is better or worse than another. A uniform society, an equal society, has the advantage that no one is suppressed. Everyone has the same rights and same opportunities. But the disadvantage is that it doesn't allow creativity. If you do not want to be uniform, if you do not want to be the same as everyone, if you do not want to be a carpenter because your father and your father's father and your great-grandfather was a carpenter, if you want to be something else, then blue is a very difficult color for you. That has been one of the problems with socialist and communist states. Yeah? The idea is great, but in practice, it has turned out that it didn't work. No socialist or communist country was a truly socialist or communist country, because you need a government for such a country, and as soon as some psychopaths make it into the government, it's all over. So there's a danger for blue to fall back into red, and also for blue to not allow the creativity necessary for orange. But it is a very social country. It allows a lot of justice. Yeah, even to have a police force whom you can trust, a police force who doesn't misuse its power. That's basically blue. There is no corruption in blue. And then there is corruption in blue. Some of the corruption will creep in from purple and red, but there is also a sort of blue corruption, because loyalty, which is a very high blue value, can be also a cause for corruption. Usually I don't make exceptions, but for you, because you're part of the club, whatever club or association or force it is, because you're part of it, I do make an exception for you. In that way, blue also allows a certain kind of criminality, a code of honor, honor amongst thieves. So the question for blue is how to keep the advantages, the positive aspects of blue, and still allow the society to move into orange. That's the problem we have now. I mean, orange is happening as well, but blue is still the strongest color. And mainstream politicians and mainstream scientists and mainstream this and that, they're holding back the development of orange, of peak orange. So the extreme limitations of blue, which came from limiting red psychopaths, become too much now. There are too many limitations, too many disadvantages, so the orange revolution takes place. People just start not following all the laws anymore and not believing everything without thinking anymore. And they do start questioning authorities. And so many blue governments have fallen already, but the blue element in the remaining governments is still very strong. And it has a big advantage. You can't just leave blue behind. An orange without blue would be asocial, antisocial. There's always a succession of individualistic colors and social colors. Yeah? Purple is social, red is individualistic and asocial. Blue is social and Orange is again individualistic and asocial, and green is social again. So the rigidity of the blue system is both its advantage and its downfall, because at some point people will just break free and orange will happen. Blue allows a certain amount of progress. At some point this progress becomes so much that it creates a wave, and this will just spill over into orange. Orange is unlimited progress. The newer the better. And that way, of course, it can also become dangerous, which is then the green challenge to solve. In the early days of spiral dynamics, it was said that most countries are red or blue centered. Most people are red or blue centered. Now recently there has been a development that it has shifted from red-blue to blue-orange, or even to orange or orange-green. This is because so many people who wrote spiral dynamics books and taught spiral dynamics recently are centered in orange. So of course they think orange is the best, so we must be in orange now, and they can already glimpse that there are some advantages in green thinking. So they probably think we are orange on the brink of green already. But that's just the orange lens. A person who is centered in orange will think everyone else is centered in orange too, most people. So this is a misunderstanding, in my view, of the people who studied spiral dynamics 10-20 years ago and used it for orange purposes like consulting. So to get orange people, to get more orange people into the boat of spiral dynamics, they sold it as an orange system where everyone was in orange, and thank God had left behind blue and red. But if you look at the evidence, if you look around you, especially in difficult times like now, you see that a majority of the people will show more blue signs than orange signs. An orange society would really look at the facts and make logical decisions what to do. If wearing a mask makes sense, this will be explained and backed up by evidence, and then everyone will happily do it because it makes sense. In a blue society, wearing a mask does not have to be explained or justified. If it's the law, it's the law. And if in the neighboring country or in the neighboring state 100 meters or 100 yards farther along the road, it's not the law, then it's not the law, and that's also okay, because it doesn't matter if wearing a mask makes sense or not logically. It only matters if it is the law or not. That is the difference between blue and orange. And if someone tries to beat you up because you're not wearing a mask, then he's centered in red. And if someone rebels against wearing a mask and says, I'm not wearing a mask, that's nonsense. Then he's centered in green. While if you don't give a fuck if wearing a mask or if not wearing a mask is a law, or if it makes sense or doesn't make sense, but if you see that it makes people feel happy and safe, because you know they're centered in blue and they need it, and then you wear a mask, then you're probably centered in a second tier color. A few more words about religion. Not all religions are blue religions, but most mainstream religions are, and most monotheistic religions are, because that religion is seen as the only way. If you follow that religion, salvation is your way. You go to heaven. If you don't follow that religion, you go to hell and you're damned. And there is no middle way between that. Either you're damned or you're saved. Either you're holy or you're a devil. And religions who think that way are centered in blue. Again, I'm not criticizing them, I'm just saying it fits to the color blue. You can believe in whatever you want to believe in. But Christianity, for example, has a history of slaughtering people who do not want to be converted. This is a blue-red kind of color. Yeah, the Crusades and the slaughtering of the Mesoamerican people like the Aztecs and the Maya and the Inca and so on. There have been really advanced cultures in Mesoamerica, in Central America. At that point, when the Spanish conquerors came to Central America, those civilizations were more advanced than the European civilizations. In all aspects except one. They had gunpowder weapons. That was one very powerful thing, which was an orange influence already. But also they had more psychopaths on their side. So they had a strong red influence as well. And they had political fanaticism on their side, which is again a blue thing. So they had the strongest of all motivations. They were warriors of God. They had the truth. They had God. They had creation on their side. Or so they thought. And they thought it was just the next best thing to slice bread, to cut people into ribbons if they didn't want to convert to their religion. Because all they wanted to do is save them. Save them from hell. They wanted to help them because they were devil worshippers in their eyes. And that's a bit of a problem with blue. If a blue person wants to help you, he or she will try to help you from their point of view. They will not give you the help that you need or want. They will give you the help that they think is correct for you. Kind of like parents, only they are not your parents, they're strangers and don't know you. So they will give you their laws and their understanding and their religion without asking you if you want them, because they're convinced it's the best thing for everyone. They will help you across the street no matter if you want to cross the street or not. So please tell me in the comments if you agree that blue is the most prevalent, the most popular color right now in the year 2020. And the next video will be all about orange. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for leaving your comments and see you very soon.